Amazing. This is just so we can make sure that we share with you folks after. A little bit of a quick bio. Speaking to you today, my name is Allison. I am part of the Recipe franchising team. I've been with Recipe for I think a little over 11 years now, about 2 of those years as part of the development team here in franchising, but before that in restaurant operations. I got a lot of love for this company, got a lot of love for the restaurant industry, and I'm joined today, who will speak to us in just a little bit, Rich, our VP for State and Maine. He has been with FranWorks for 11 years, State and Maine specifically for 4, captained the ship through COVID, and really has done amazing work to define this brand. So we'll talk a little bit about what we are going to go over with you today. We'll start with a brief overview of who we are at Recipe, what is great about partnering with us for restaurant ownership opportunities. We will lean into an introduction to State and Maine as a brand, hopefully help you understand, who we are, what we're trying to do. We'll talk about the investment, the road to opening, candidate selection when it comes to these ownership opportunities. We'll talk about immediate opportunities and next steps from here. So our hope is to give you a really great overview on ownership opportunities with State and Maine today. So jumping right into an overview of who we are at Recipe, the parent company of State and Maine. So Recipe as a company, we are a $3 billion company. That is our system sales last year across all of our brands. We do have over 1,200 restaurants across 10 different countries, mainly Canada, but across 10 different countries as well. We do have about 20 different iconic brands. And we've been in business since 1883. The photo that you see in the back of the screen there, that is the mothership where I am speaking to you from today. That is our home office in Vaughan, although we do have other offices around the country because we want to make sure that we're always supporting our brands to the best of our ability. Little bit of a snapshot of the company that State and Maine finds itself in across our different restaurant brands at Recipe. Sort of a little bit of a categorization for you. We do have some great brands in the limited service categories. Of course, Harvey's being one of our legacy brands, New York Fries, probably everyone's familiar with, as well as some up and coming brands like Burger's Priest. Some really iconic brands when it comes to family casual as well. Of course, Swiss Chalet, Eastside Mario's, I'm sure many people coast to coast would be familiar with, in the Pickle Barrel in Ontario, quite a presence as well. Our casual brand segment, which is actually where State and Maine falls, is probably where we do a lot of our most iconic work. State and Maine is in the presence of other amazing brands like Blanco, also part of the FranWorks division. There's also Montana's, Kelsey's, and of course, Saint-Hubert. And then, of course, we do have interest all the way up to premium casual. And what I always love to highlight when we talk about Recipe's portfolio as a whole is just the variety that we have in our portfolio. And I think that really speaks to, as a restaurant owner, as a franchisee with Recipe, you can be part of a passionate, tight-knit group of people with your brand, but you're part of this larger network. And I always say, if there are trends happening in the restaurant industry, maybe they're impacting one part of the industry, and it takes some time before we see the change across different segments in the industry. Well, we're probably going to figure that out pretty quickly, right? When we have got concepts as small as New York Fries and as large and iconic as the Keg and everything in between, you're in great company with Recipe. As part of the Recipe family, if you choose to pursue an ownership opportunity with us, our franchisees do gain access to all of our national partnerships. Some of the benefits of that include preferred ordering rates with Cisco, really great partnerships with suppliers like Pepsi, Chase Payment Tech, and Russell Hendricks. Russell Hendricks specifically, they do our equipment supplying. And I'll tell you from my days as a restaurant operator, you have a lot of things in the restaurant to learn about, to understand, to become an expert on. And, knowing every little thing about restaurant equipment and how to source it and choose it, it really is fantastic, the attention that we get from our suppliers, such as Russell Hendricks and the others here on the screen. Really, the secret to partnering with a brand is in the national marketing. This is where I think a big part of the competitive advantage is in our national marketing programs. When we approach national marketing, we are negotiating with the full strength of Recipe. Companies like Google, like Facebook, Sportsnet, and these other avenues that we do national programs with, we are getting an amazing reach in terms of the dollar spend. We are getting bulk rates and discounts with these groups, and we're able to really just lay the foundation of our brands in a way that would be difficult to do as an independent restaurateur. And I think, again, this is sort of just an intro to the support that comes with being part of the Recipe family. Now, I know you're all here for State and Main today, and I don't want to make you wait too long on that. So I'm actually going to hand off to Rich at this point to delve into State and Main before we'll kind of come back to the ways that Recipe supports through the partnership process.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be speaking with you all today. I'm obviously a very passionate brand lover of State and Main, but just wanted to introduce a little history of our company, which obviously you can see in 2016 we were acquired by Recipe, and have enjoyed all the fruits of that for the past 7 years. FranWorks it started as a franchising consultancy group that purchased Original Joe's and built it up over the course of 10 years. I joined the company right around 2011, and we launched State and Main. We definitely developed it as a brand, premium brand that we wanted to move further into Eastern Canada with. We operate currently 100 locations and growing. And obviously you can see the 5 brands that we're operating, fun, young, hip brands, Elephant and Castle coming on board right around the time. It's our one of our acquisitions that gives us some locations in the United States. And just one point I like to make here is that we operate 40% corporate and 60% franchise. With franchisees, we're right alongside you. We completely understand the trials and tribulations of owning a restaurant, and also the fun and excitement, and we really partner with you along that journey. Our president and CEO founder is Derek Doak. He is an amazing entrepreneur. He has an entrepreneurial spirit, and has always allowed me to kind of develop and operate and support franchisees along the journey. So yeah, we can move on. So yeah, here who we are, introducing State and Main. So it's a casual downtown restaurant experience that's a cut above without the commute. What we really saw was an opportunity in that space that's below that elevated, very premium brands, and then some of your core, more casual brands. Something where we find that people are looking for quality. They maybe have moved out of the suburbs. Moved out of downtown city centers, and they're now living in the suburbs, and we're used to unique, more elevated experiences. So yeah, those are some of the buzzwords that we're elevated comfort, a downtown experience. We have familiar favorites on the menu, but done better. We also have lots of unique items and dishes that you don't find on some of your more casual menu. It's very eclectic. We're really reaching out to a broad group. So yeah, it's your neighborhood drink, it's your date night, it's potentially a special occasion. We want to delight and over deliver. We don't over design the rooms, but they are very comfortable. Still have that casual feeling, and we're right at a great price point for our guests who maybe have moved from the city and now buying a bigger home in the suburbs and or in a smaller community around Toronto and all over Canada. So yeah, that's where we are for some of our brands' purpose. Just a little flyover. So vibrant, energy. So some of our core values that I wanted to highlight, the main core value is elevated comfort. That casual, that's a cut above. So just slightly more elevated, but still comfortable, still casual, still a place that you'd meet your friends after work for. Our people are social, engaging, welcoming, and upbeat. We're here to keep you smiling. Environment is that downtown energy. We bring the dynamic and vibrant atmosphere of downtown to our guests. So it's really striking a chord with, say, modern suburbanites. People who move from the city, they have expectations of a higher quality. And then when it comes to our food and our offerings, that's where I think we really over deliver against our competitors. Really amazing scratch made drinks. We have a ton of pride in our cocktail program, our wine program. We really slot in a nice little spot for people who, often maybe, I don't want to mention a lot of the competitors, but one thing that I like to mention, a recipe brand, is the keg. I love the keg. Obviously, I know a lot of people on this call, maybe we're old keggers. Really a really respected brand around Canada and among all the other recipe brands as well. But some of our guests come in and they say, you know what, you're like a keg light. It's a little smaller room. There's more eclectic menu items, and I've had guests apologize to me for that. And I always go, that is one of the most amazing things you can say to me. They're like, it's just something that I've always been really proud of over the last few years that we've been developing within this concept. So yeah, let's talk about some of the products a little bit further. So what we're really highlighting here is our mainstays. We have a lot of products that are either unique to State and Maine. The Bang Bang Shrimp, our pretzel bites are unbelievable. Most, if not all, of the items are made in-house. We are really proud of all of our kitchen managers and team members. What we're doing with this program here is we are still new. I know we've been around 11 years with our 25 locations, but we're new. And so what we're doing with this is we're finding new guests every day and just shouting out all the great items that we have on our menu. So you're going to see unique items or familiar favorites just done with a little bit of a twist, and really an attention to quality. So you're seeing some amazing items on the screen. Those are our soup dumplings, the spicy Thai noodle salad. Let me tell you, it is spicy. Shrimp and truffle rigatoni, great fresh made pasta. We are a scratch made kitchen, so you are looking for real quality team members here as well within this concept. So yeah, you can see the bright, the fresh, the downtown experience.
I'm a massive fan of that salad bowl myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then cocktails as well. We're very in the forefront of cocktails. We just launched a brand new cocktail menu. You'll see a lot of that. That's the pink statement. I call out, if you're near a State in Maine, go and check it out. We are, that place where people were used to maybe going to cocktail bars in the city, and now there's the State in Maine around the corner, and they can get an amazing Caesar. And so, yeah, we've called these our statement cocktails. We've got a household fashion now, amazing Tommy Margarita. And so, these are classic drinks with a little bit of a twist, and we've made it as easy as we possibly can on our team members here. But these are all unique drinks or classics done with that little bit of a twist. I want to, one thing important to me is that we're also a very female friendly concept. We have a wine night. We have an amazing wine list, and we put a lot of attention to wine and drinks in this program. So you are getting a great blend in this brand among alcohol sales, may possibly compared to our competitors. So better cost of goods and all of those going along there. We've done a lot of work on the brand and the economic model with this in mind. So the things you're seeing on screen that we're shouting out are providing us the best cost of goods and as well as delighting guests across the board. So yeah, I think I've mentioned a lot of who we're talking to. It is people between 25 and 45. There's that sweet spot of people who've moved out of the city and into the suburbs, men and women. I feel like we're very female focused, and that the wives, girlfriends are choosing this as a place to meet or bringing their partners to. Business professionals, but not too stuffy. I do see a lot of, that blue collar worker coming after work and sitting at the bar and still feeling just as comfortable. Yeah, so elevated comfort is close to home when you feel like going out, but don't feel like going too far. We feel like we're providing that experience that you're used to in a really elevated experience downtown and having it right in your neighborhood. So yeah. It's been an exciting time. We've seen an amazing 2022, and the start of this year is going just as well. So that's why we're presenting to you here today. We're excited to find new franchisees and owners and owner operators. And yeah, that's my two cents. And yeah, right now we're operating 26 locations. There's lots of opportunity to grow all across Canada. Our first location in Ontario is Guelph, which is still going really well with a franchisee there. But yeah, we started out west and moved out east. So you'll see the locations in our area where FranWorks is in Calgary and Edmonton. But yeah, the opportunities are across Canada for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can speak a little bit further to the opportunity and the opening process moving forward here. In terms of the figures of what it takes to actually begin a brand new state in Maine, if we're talking about new development upcoming, the initial investment, the total initial investment, tends to be around 1.3 to 1.8 million. And when we say total initial investment, I do want to clarify that is obviously a large part of its construction, but it's not just construction. That's going to be your construction, your equipment, your soft costs, even the franchise fee is within that estimate as well. As the total initial investment. The way I often like to put it is everything it's going to take to unlock the doors and welcome your first guest. That's sort of the range that you want to have in your mind. The franchise fee for a standard 10 years of franchise term for state in Maine is $60,000. Royalty is 5% and advertising is 2%. Those are both calculated on gross sales. And then we do also have a local advertising requirement at an additional 1%. And essentially this is for you to use in your local market in a way that makes sense for you. How are you as the local owner operator, the local presence for state in Maine in your community going to connect in an authentic way? We do a lot corporately when it comes to branding and positioning and national programs, but the local piece is part of what makes a restaurant thrive, right? A restaurant is an environment that is about connection. And that really is also why the franchise model works. Is because we're putting these beautiful businesses, these amazing business models with these impeccably crafted cocktails and menus into the hands of people who can really bring it to life on a personal level. And so that local advertising requirement, really important piece. It's actually something that was sort of been birthed out of what we were seeing already in our network of franchisees. It seemed like the franchisees, there were certain people who were just doing exceptionally well. And we did a deep dive to understand, well, you know, your market's super similar to maybe some of your co-franchisees. How come your results are so much stronger? And it came down to this: the franchisees who were reinvesting that 1% back in their community were reaping the rewards. And so moving forward, that's the gold standard. That's what we want to make sure that you budget for as you're evaluating the business opportunity for a state in Maine. Now, our financial principles, that initial investment that we just talked about of 1.3 to 1.8 million, you are essentially looking at a cash requirement of 40% of that. The remaining 60% absolutely can be financed, but that 40% is our minimum unencumbered cash requirement. Our net worth requirement is calculated essentially as a 3 times multiple of whatever that 40% value is. So I do have a little bit of an example here for you. Let's say it's a $1.5 million initial investment. You would need about $600,000 of unencumbered cash, and you would need 1.8 million of net worth. I do always like to stop and clarify what that word means, unencumbered. It does need to be available liquid cash in a bank account, maybe in a TFSA or something easily liquidable. It should not be something like home equity. It needs to have essentially no repayment terms on it. It needs to be liquid available cash. The reason that we do ask for this 40% unencumbered minimum is just to really make sure that you're starting out your business on the right foot, in a stable position, and that you can really focus on what it's going to take to be successful long term. I think that there's a way you run your business when you're in good financial shape, and there's a way that a business can be run maybe when an owner is feeling a little bit of strain. That 40% right off the bat, I think, is really going to help you out. It also helps you in terms of growth position. The less debt you take on, the sooner you're able to grow and take on multiple units. And there's a lot of opportunity to do that with a young and growing brand like State and Maine. I'll also mention, in terms of these financial principles and in terms of entering into an ownership opportunity, A lot of people will choose to do this as groups or partnerships, and that can be a really strategic way to do it, not just to show the net worth and cash required, but also to plan for future growth. If you start as an ownership group of 2 or 3 people, and then you take on, 2 or 3 more locations, you're able to divide your time a little bit, right? If everyone started from the start. So that is one thing to keep in mind as well. You don't necessarily have to come up with this just as an individual. This is what we're looking for from a group of franchisees, potentially, if that's what fits your growth goals. A great question to ask is who's lending the money. So we talked about that 40%. Okay, that's great, but 60%, who is lending the money? How do we get access to the rest of that capital to make this investment? At Recipe, we are really proud to have very strong partnerships with every single one of Canada's top banks. And I say that we're proud of that because it's not every franchisor that can say that. It's actually something that I usually recommend if you're just sort of beginning your journey into the world of franchising, if you're evaluating different opportunities, ask different franchisors who is at the table, who backs these brands, and it'll tell you a lot about the history of the franchisor. It'll tell you a lot about the strength of the franchisor, and what the business model might be like. So again, we're really proud to have all of these people at the table. When it comes time to secure the financing, typically what I will do is I will send a list of names and contact information for real human beings at every one of these banks, and you will get to go through and just find the right package for you. And when they know that you come approved by Recipe, it makes it very easy. You're not there trying to convince them of what State and Main is and why it's a good opportunity. They're going to be able to get right into trying to find the financing solution that works best for you and the packages that work best for you. So again, just really proud to have all these partners at the table when it comes time to secure that initial investment. When it comes to real estate, when we talk about the road to opening, of course, it starts with a spot to actually put the restaurant. At Recipe, we do have an in-house real estate team. And really the way I like to talk about it is we know what success looks like. We know across all of our different restaurant models, across all of our different brands, what the markers of success are, and we seek to replicate them. Our real estate team is always working to get preferred rates. We have front of line access to a lot of brand new developments, amazing relationships with a lot of Canada's top developers. And really, we work closely with real estate in tandem with our market planning team to just really analyze every part of the deal, from the lease to the demographics, to the traffic counts, to cell phone data, to understand how people trade in different markets. And even when we think we found a slam dunk of a site, we do put every single site through a rigorous approval process, all the way up through our CEO and CFO to personally sign off on any new opportunities. The way that I try to describe it is Recipe as a company at our stage right now, we are not here to grow just to grow. We're here to grow in the right way. And unless we all can put our hands over our hearts and go to sleep every night knowing that we have done our best to evaluate an opportunity and that we've used all of our experience and resources, we want to make sure that we're only bringing forward the best for our franchisees and for our guests. And that means putting in all of this work to understand the real estate. Design and construction is also something that is a major support for you as a franchisee starting up a business for the first time. We do have an in-house design and construction team, always working to ensure an iconic outcome. Essentially, the way that it typically works, you will be paired with an in-house project manager with a full support team behind them. They'll walk you through the tender process, usually 5 or 6 different bids from different general contractors. And it is your choice to decide exactly how you want to proceed and which general contractor's bid makes the most sense to you. And in fact, if you have a preferred contractor that you have worked with before, I mean, so long as they've got restaurant experience, of course, a little different than residential, absolutely introduce us, and we want to make sure that their bid is considered and put in front of you as well. Doing it this way allows us to keep the costs just what they are. You'll be paying the contractor's invoices as they come in, rather than doing I think, you know, what some people will call a turnkey model, where the franchisor kind of builds it all out and hands the franchisee one very large bill at the end, usually with a percent on top of it. We don't work that way. You will be paying your contractors directly, bit by bit, through the build process. Build time for a state in Maine is typically between 4 and 6 months, to give you a little bit of an idea, which gives you lots of time to plan, to learn, and to train. Which leads us to our next conversation topic. Well, what does training look like? How do we, you know, the restaurant's being built, how do we get ready for it? How do we make sure that it's full of the right people? How do we make sure that we are truly guest ready? This is something that we do with you. You will get a full 8 weeks of in-restaurant training for yourself as well as your management team. And even from there, we do help you with initial setup. We're going to help you recruit and train your initial hourly team. We will take you through vendor setup. You probably don't know how many steaks to order, but we do, and we can help you with that. And just really hold your hand on the journey through restaurant readiness. And even when your doors are open, the support doesn't end there. You will always have access to essentially a coach. We call them BDMs, or business development managers. Their entire job is to support franchisees and help support franchisees' profitability. They can work with you on any type of training in an ongoing sense. They can review P&Ls with you, and they are your lifeline to the brand to make sure that you know, you're maximizing your business to the best of your ability. In terms of candidate selection, so I mean, hopefully at this point, you're at least a little bit excited about the brand. I'm super excited about this brand. I think it's just so special in our portfolio. We are looking for a very particular type of candidate. We are first and foremost looking for a brand personality match, someone with a vibrant energy and a warm attitude, someone who's cool, you know, like that person that totally is an asset to every party, but not high end or stuffy, right? Someone who has just sort of that air about them. Someone, of course, with a passion for the restaurant industry and, you know, maybe knows a thing or two about food and wine. Definitely someone whose dinner party's invitation you would accept. Someone with strong leadership skills who can motivate a team and inspire others, right? We are dedicated to the perfect guest experience. And of course, being a hands-on owner-operator can be a big part of that. But even as a hands-on owner-operator, it's impossible for you to see 100% of the guests that come through your doors. And so those leadership skills really are so important, your ability to rally the troops around you. Dedication to delivering that perfect guest experience, nothing less than perfect. Keeping guests smiling and ensuring that we are over-delivering, as Rich mentioned earlier, over-delivering on the experience above and beyond expectations. Building relationships in your community, supporting your community. Again, kind of going back to that 1% local marketing. You can get really creative with that. It doesn't have to be traditional advertising on radio and things like that. You can think about community partnerships that make sense. That focus and appreciation for your people and that hands-on approach to the restaurant. A restaurant can be an amazing investment opportunity, and certainly the business model for State and Maine is quite healthy, but it's not a passive investment. I don't think there's a restaurant out there that runs itself. And I think that hands-on piece is very important, especially for a brand with the dedication to atmosphere and the attention to detail that State and Maine has. I think that hands-on piece is just so important for your success. This is who we're looking for. I'm telling you right now, as people reach out and as part of my role and my colleagues' roles in franchising, this is what we are evaluating you for as a candidate from the very first phone call. This is really who we're hoping to partner with to continue to grow this brand. We do have an immediate opportunity slated for open later this year in Barrhaven, which we're very, very excited about. It's going to be such a cool spot with a beautiful patio in a really up and coming neighborhood. I think Barrhaven is just such an amazing fit for this brand. I actually grew up in the Ottawa area, so I think I'm a little partial to this opportunity myself. But Barrhaven as a neighborhood in Ottawa has changed so much and in such an amazing way. Right now, the average household income in Barrhaven is over $150,000. The median age is 37. This is State and Maine territory, and we're definitely really excited to bring this forward. This is one that definitely, if you've got questions about, please make sure that you get at me. I really want to speak with you about this opportunity if you want to learn more. a lot of stuff to talk about. In terms of other future opportunities that are coming up, we do have a national growth plan for this brand. Future opportunities, we showed you current locations. I think there's a lot of white space there. I think there's a lot of white space in Ontario, Southwestern Ontario, GTA, Winnipeg, St. Vital. We're actually evaluating a site there. And of course, in Alberta, in Calgary and in Edmonton, both definitely some space, I think, there where we could fit in very nicely. But really with this brand, because of our focus and our need for the right partners that we talked about just a couple slides ago under candidate selection, we are going to largely have a franchisee-focused approach to growth. Traditionally in franchising, a lot of the time, site comes first, and then we work to pair it with the right partner. We would like for State and Main to work maybe a little bit more the other way. Maybe we find that right person, and that's where we put our emphasis on seeking the real estate, because I think the stars need to align for an opportunity to make sense. And a big piece of that is the candidate selection. So again, franchisee-focused approach to growth. We're going to be working to evaluate people. Even if I haven't mentioned the market that you're in right now, please talk to me, because we can absolutely be swayed. If you think a State and Main would fit in your community, maybe we do too. We don't know till we have that conversation. And again, just a really unique way to approach growth, I think, with the people first attitude. And we are also working to build out a pre-approval process. So if you are the right candidate, even if we haven't secured the dirt yet, even if the real estate is not fully there yet, we are working on a pre-approval process to make sure that you are secured in your place as a franchisee, so that you would have the rights to an opportunity in your preferred area first, which again is very unique and not something we offer across all of our brands. For any next steps, and this is sort of the last slide that I'll lead up as we just in a second move into our Q&A. Next steps really are simple. Please talk to us. Please connect with a franchising manager. The best way to do that, if you email franchising@recipeunlimited.com right there on the screen, we'll be able to connect you with the appropriate franchise manager for your territory, which is typically how we work. But we really want to talk to you, even if it's just that you have more questions than what we're able to go through today. If you want to learn more about franchising in general, if you have questions about some of those delicious drinks that Rich showed us earlier that I might need to grab after work, we really want to help with any of those questions. And there's no question that is too small. The beauty of, I think, my role in franchising, I always say, I get to interact with people who woke up this morning and thought about restaurant ownership, and I get to interact with people who maybe are already fairly established and working to build their portfolio. So happy to interact with you wherever you are on your journey and your exploration of restaurant ownership.